All right. Greetings, everyone. It's good to see you guys again. I am looking forward to another round of questions here. So, just disclaimer right at the top here, if for some reason a cat jumps into frame, those are my two cats. I have cats, and they're locked in my office with me today as we do this because we have some construction going on in the house. We're redoing our bathroom, so that's exciting. So anyway, so if you see a cat, that's what that's about. All right, so I guess we'll just get started here then. Let's get rolling. So first question comes from Adam Drake. The question is, mindset question. What process or system do you use to manage your tasks each day? I manage a team of financial advisors and I'm recruiting more advisors. I own the company. On a daily basis, I'm tweaking my systems, which is adding up to big improvement over time. Also, at any given moment, I'm working on game-changing deals, acquisitions, hires, partnerships, of which I may land a few a year. The regular new business doubles and triples continues to flow in, but I obviously want more. What are the keys to getting to the next level in my business? And then the elevator pitch is my company, Highland Investment Advisors, provides a turnkey asset management program helping independent financial advisors eliminate back office paperwork headaches and grow fee-based practices. We're built by advisors for advisors to empower reps to be their client's CIO. Okay, good question. So the main question is, what process or system do I use to manage tasks each day? So I have a couple different things that I do. The first thing that I have is I try to prioritize the important over the urgent as much as possible. I found that to be helpful because, so just a quick definition on that. Important things are things that move the business forward, and urgent things are kind of everything else that we do on a day-to-day basis. So if I'm doing an important thing, and I do more important things, then the business moves faster, it grows faster because I'm focusing my time on important stuff that's growing the business. So I kind of like do that. And well, how do you determine what's important and what's urgent? Well, one of the ways that I do that is that I have I every quarter review these objectives, I could say. And those objectives are three things that I've identified that if I do those every day, then I am making progress in whatever my goal is. So like, for example, in my particular case, I have three, and one of them is personal. The first is fitness, exercise, make sure that I actually get out and take care of my body so that I, when I exercise on a regular basis, then I have more energy and strength and am able to, do better work stuff. So do I do that every day? Check the box or not. Second one is academics and reading. Learning all the time. If I'm not learning, then I'm falling behind. So I want to make sure that I'm learning every day. So did I check the box on that one that day? And then the third thing for me is stuff like this, where I'm giving like outbound one-to-many knowledge share. And so I write, I do all these different things. So I have those three things that every day I actually send a text. And I've been sending it to this one guy, a friend of mine, for almost 4 years now with a report. Just did I do those three things or did I not do those three things? And so if I try to squeeze something related to those three things in every single day, it keeps me focused on the important stuff. I also have a very specific schedule, that like a generic schedule that I've laid out for myself. It shows the whole 7-week period, and then in that 7-day period, and in that 7 days, it specifically outlines hour by hour. This is the time that I work on this work stuff. This is the time I exercise. This is the time that I, do my reading and academic stuff. And that kind of, I adhere to it mostly. Of course, sometimes you can't because of different scheduling things, but by laying it out that way, it gives you a real good picture of how much time you actually have and how you should be applying that time. So that helps me really to keep things organized and keep things going. And then as far as actual tasks, now down to the task level, I really just kind of use my Google Calendar. If I have the actual stuff to do, I don't just make a to-do list. I actually put the to-do list on my calendar. Like I allocate time so that way then when that time rolls around, it specifically says I have a half an hour to complete this task. So I budgeted on, I not only made a to-do list, but I budgeted the time on my schedule to do it so that I actually know that it's going to get done. So that's kind of pretty much how I handle managing tasks on a daily basis and connecting those up to goals that are important so that I don't get bogged down in just the day-to-day stuff. Yeah, I guess another good thing to kind of mention about important stuff is that if you find yourself doing the easy stuff, this is kind of a thing that I notice people do, myself included. If you find yourself doing the easy stuff because, oh, well, I'll just knock all this easy stuff off the list, you spend most of your time just doing the easy stuff and not, which is technically kind of the urgent stuff and not the important stuff. So, so whatever you're procrastinating about, probably that's the thing you should be working on. All the little stuff you can knock off the list easy, just knock it off easy later. Okay, so that was a good one. Good question. Next question is from Joe Nugent. How do I determine what systems and processes can be automated and which ones need to be delegated? I own a home inspection and home watch company. I know there are automation processes and systems I can implement to streamline my business. The challenge I have is knowing which software to use, and do I need an assistant of some sort to help with some that can't be set up to be 100% automated. I just know there are tasks I do every day that don't require me to do it. I would prefer to be out networking and selling. How do I figure out what can be automated and what needs to be delegated? Great. So I'm glad that your inclination is to be out networking and selling, because that's probably an important thing, right? Because you have to make sales, you got to make revenue. So that would be the right place to be putting your time, because if you're stuck in operations, the business isn't going to grow if no one is out there selling. So good feeling on that. So well, you're talking to the right person, because I know about automation. I've been automating stuff for 20 years. Business processes have been my passion for a long time. So the main thing that you need to start with is you need to do a process map of whatever process you're thinking of, and you might even want to do a process map for a bunch of different processes within your business, because if you do that, you're going to find that there's probably things that are interconnected, or like there's activities that can be overlapping, either from a technology perspective or from just a work perspective, somebody doing something. So that would probably be my that's where I would go. I would do a complete process map of the processes so that you can kind of look for overlap and figure out what can be automated, because you don't really even know. I mean, I like your inclination to talk about getting an assistant. That's probably a good idea. That's probably a good idea regardless of this broader question, because when you have an assistant to hand off just little tasks that you can, all those urgent tasks, the little get these things done, schedule this, do that, that's not a bad place to start, because if maybe that's the thing that's keeping you back from finding the proper automation solutions. You just have to be aware that once you do get that assistant, that you kind of keep track of the stuff that you're throwing to that person. A lot of times businesses grow and they solve their process inefficiencies with more people, which means that as they grow, the payroll gets higher and higher and higher, and then they never really make more money as they grow. So something to be aware of. But if you're not finding yourself having enough time to do the process mapping and get the automation stuff straightened out, then yeah, maybe the first step is an assistant to just offload some stuff first, and then you can take it from there. Because once you do the process map, you can also look at outsourcing too. There might be parts that you can outsource overseas or something too, if it can't be fully automated. So yeah, if you want to help with that, reach out to Sean, and then he can put us in touch. I'm happy to help with that sort of stuff. That's my expertise. Okay, so next question. Corey Van Wyck, how have you been able to overcome or prevent overthinking so you can get more done each day? When performing tasks, I get analysis paralysis, which leads to being unproductive. How do you overcome that? And then the elevator pitch. We help leaders of any kind get their message across in a more personal and impactful way through teaching the art and science of communication. Okay, so analysis paralysis, how do you get over it? That's the root of the question. So I don't have a huge problem with this, but I know, and I've employed a lot of people that do. So I have dealt with this before, and my recommendation is two things. Jeff Bezos talks about how there's very few decisions that are really a one-way door. So you have to look at every decision you make as a possibility to change your mind, right? So it takes some of the pressure off of getting everything exactly right and perfect. So it's not a one-way door. There's very few decisions that are just one direction. Most of the time you have a two-way option that you can go through the door and then be like, oh, well, I made the wrong choice, move back. So keep that in mind. That maybe will take some of the pressure off. And then the thing that I've recommended to people before is just force the decision date and time specifically, not just the date. Because if you do the time, then it really makes it concrete. That like next Tuesday at 3:37 p.m., whatever it is, I will make a decision on this and I will move in that direction, or I will stop thinking about it. And then just make it as clean as that. That'll give you a definite point at which you have to, with the information you have, just move forward or not move forward. You're not going to get 100% of the information. Part of your job as a CEO, as an entrepreneur, is making choices with limited information, because that's what we do. We make choices from limited information. I've heard a stat that 70% is more than enough information to make a decision. The most, Fortune 500 CEOs are perfectly happy with 70% of the data. And I think that that's probably a good number. So so force yourself to make a decision, put a deadline on it, and then whatever info you have at that point, you're out of time. You just got to make a decision to move forward. All right. Next question from Jocelyn Padilla. I'm looking to get feedback on my elevator pitch. Okay, here's the elevator pitch. Do you struggle to honestly communicate your wants, needs, and desires to your partners? Have you experienced anxiety due to fear, inexperience, or lack of confidence in the bedroom? Looking to spice up your love life, improve your intimacy with a partner, and at a loss of where to begin? Navigating the exciting yet often misunderstood world of sexuality, intimacy, pleasure, and self-care can be overwhelming. It doesn't have to be. Adventurous Aphrodite focuses on fun, frisky, and factual-based workshops, private group coaching, and passion parties for the curious adult. We give you the practical tools, knowledge, and resources in a non-judgmental space to help you unleash your inner sensual god or goddess. Embody the confident, authentic, and sexy self you have always dreamed of. And then here's the business description for everyone. I am a sexual wellness intimacy coach. We focus on workshops, private group coaching, and passion parties in a non-judgmental space. The reason I'm asking this is because I need an elevator pitch and need honest feedback. Okay, cool. Well, it sounds like an exciting business that you're in. So that's a good place to start. That's fun. That always makes business a little bit more fun when you have something kind of unique. Okay, so as far as an elevator pitch goes, I think it's way too long. It's also way too pitchy, in my opinion. Usually for me, an elevator pitch is something that's supposed to grab people's attention, and you're really just trying to get them to say, yes, I want to hear more. You don't have to, you're giving a lot of information in your hypothetical questions here. So I would look at trying to shorten it up and making it more, I would say so that it's less like I guess honest feedback is whenever I get those rhetorical questions sort of stuff, I get kind of like car salesman feeling. Not that there's anything wrong with car salesmen if there's any car salesmen watching, but it's a little bit too pitchy for me. I want something that makes it feel like so that the person you're talking to or that's reading it has a genuine connection to you. So and that one of the things, like for example, I've been working really hard to get my elevator pitch, my personal brand elevator pitch down to as short as possible, just and that keys in. And so my elevator pitch, when people ask me like, hey, what do you do? I just say I solve problems, and then I stop talking. I just say I solve problems. And then, of course, if I say I solve problems, the next question that they ask is, well, what kind of problems do you solve? And then I say, well, tell me what your biggest problem is right now in business. And then they know exactly what it is. So it really, it's really a good place to jump off a conversation, and then they start talking, and then it gives me an opportunity to learn about them and their business, and then see if there's an opportunity for me to get involved in what they're doing. So, like in your case, especially because you're in kind of a unique business anyway, and something that's going to be kind of eye-catching, or like people are going to respond to, just because of what it is. You probably don't need so many words. You could probably get it down to something really short, and then know what your objective is in your mind of telling somebody this. What are you trying to get them to do? In my case, I was trying to get them to tell me more about their business and tell me about what their biggest problems are, because if there's a problem, if it's a big problem, then I can solve it. I can make money, right? And so I would say the same thing for you. Identify what it is you want from them, from the conversation, and then you can, jump off from there. So, but short, a lot shorter, and it doesn't need to be so pitchy. It should be more like personal and more of a conversation would be my recommendation. Cool. And that goes for anybody doing elevator pitches. I think that's a good approach. Okay. Next one, Adam Drake says, how do I create a company culture document so I can implement it in my company? And then the description. I can feel our culture, but I can't seem to put it into words. I think it's important that it's authentic and not meaningless platitudes and word salad BS. I'm stuck. I manage a team of financial advisors, and I'm recruiting more advisors and staff. I own the company. And then here's an elevator pitch from Adam. My company, Highland Investment Advisor, provides a turnkey asset management program helping independent financial advisors eliminate back office paperwork, headaches, and grow fee-based practices. We're built by advisors for advisors to empower reps to be their client's CIO. Okay, cool. All right, so company culture and how do we implement it across the company in a uniform and predictable way. The great thing about culture is that you're going to have a culture one way or the other, and if you actively manage it and decide what you want it to be, it'll be great. If you don't do anything about it, then you get the default, which it's kind of a crapshoot if it's going to be great or not. Honestly, if you're a decent leader, usually the culture turns out pretty good. In my case, early on in my career, I wasn't a decent leader, and so I would kind of consequently end up with all sorts of odd cultural oddities. And as I've grown as a leader and as an entrepreneur, I've become much more adept at managing a culture. And so what I would recommend to start, and I think your feelings about wanting to avoid just word salad BS is a good one, because it's useless. It doesn't do anything. It's just like words you put up on the wall and no one pays attention to. So what I would recommend is I recommend a book called Fundamentally Different. It's by a guy named David Friedman. Again, the book is Fundamentally Different by David Friedman. And what's good about that book is he talks about culture as a set of behaviors, which is what it is. Everyone agrees on that. And he has kind of a method of going through and setting those behaviors. And he'll talk about like 20 to 30 of them, like a lot, with specific, here's the behavior, and here's kind of a little definition of what the behavior is. And then he has like a cadence for reviewing those on a, if you do a weekly huddle with your group, review each one each week, just to kind of keep it top of mind. You set up little awards or like ways that people can kind of like give a shout out to somebody who really lived those behaviors this last week, that sort of thing, with points and prizes and things like that. So you can do all that sort of stuff. But as far as the document goes, Fundamentally Different is a very good place to start. I'd also recommend Googling Nucor, Nucor, which is a a steel manufacturer. They're kind of world renowned for their culture and their incentive systems, because part of culture is trying to incentivize and align, not really incentivize, but align all of the members of the company around the goal to drive the business forward, right? Like all this culture stuff, from like a touchy-feely sort of way is great, but at the end of the day, the goal is to just make people more efficient and have them make us more money, right? That's what we want. And so Nucor is kind of known for their culture and for the incentive system that they put in place that reinforces that culture. So that's a good case study to look up. You should be able to find. You might have to pay for it. Or again, if you want to talk to Sean or something, I have a copy of it probably. Talk to Sean, he'll put you in touch with me, and then I can share it. I think I have a PDF of it somewhere. But yeah, take a look at that, because one of the things when you're setting up a culture, the thing that they found, research has shown that when the people in the organization understand why they're doing something, then it sticks better. So if you're trying to set up a culture and you just immediately jump in with like, here's our behaviors and here's the things, you're going to get less of a response than if you explain to them, here's why a culture is important. Here's the steps that we've taken to establish these behaviors because this is how we expect it to work for our culture. And move like so that everyone knows more. The more information that you give, this is a cultural thing in itself, I guess. The more information that you give your people, the more they're able to participate in the success of the business. So if you want just a document, Fundamentally Different is a great way to follow up with that and get a document. And then I would look at Nucor as kind of a case study to understand how culture and incentives and all that drive value. And then just as a leader, you got to live the culture. So don't write stuff up that doesn't resonate with you. Don't say we're going to put a foosball table in the break room if you don't like foosball. If that's not going to be what you do, because if you don't do it, then no one else is going to do it. Or if everyone else does it and you don't do it, then there's a mismatch there, obviously. So so focus on behaviors when you set up your culture. That's I think the takeaway. Okay. Next, we've got Lisa Nitkowski. What would you do if there's a business you want to start, but you don't have experience in that industry or product or service? I'm in the beginning stages as an entrepreneur, even though I do have some experience. I've been trying to determine what business I want to start, and I think I have found one, but I don't have experience in that business. What would you do if you were in my shoes and you knew what kind of business you wanted to start? What are some of the first steps you would take? I'm super excited and would love to know what you would do since you have experience. All right, cool. Thank you. So what I do, I've been in businesses that I don't know anything about multiple times. And so one of the things that I do is I look at it and I say, well, first off, 90% of business is business, right? So the products might change, the services might change, but 90% of it is really the same key fundamentals. And so with that in mind, I focused on really knowing those 90% as best as I can, and that gives me a lot of kind of a leg up in no matter what business I go into. And then as far as like the other 10% go, so I'll do research, right? So I'll probably do what you've already been doing. I'll read about and try to understand what the difference of that business is from, or that industry from every other business or industry. I would do the kind of that top level research. And then I'd also identify early on what I expect of myself in that new business. Because if it's a business I haven't been in before, and 90% of it is the same as every other business, that other 10% I'm probably going to be deficient at. And so let's say that other 10%, because it usually is on the product side of the business, or the service side of the business, stuff that I really don't know about or have any experience with, but I have to, it's the part that touches the customer, and I have to be good at that, or else my business is going to probably suck. And so so I would focus on finding a subject matter expert in that business. Perhaps if it's a business that is a local type business that, you know, doesn't have competitive, like isn't competitive in across geographic areas, I would reach out to somebody else who's already in that business in another geographic area that's not competitive, uh, and then try to, you know, get them to help me understand how the business works and how the production side works. Another thing that I would do is I would model out the financials of what I think it is. Like, so what does this business look like? I would model it out. I would, you know, I'd say, all right, here's what I think the production side of things is going to cost me, and this is how much it's going to cost per unit or per service call or whatever it is. Um, Determine like if there's any money in the business, right? Like if it's a good industry to be in, is there money to go around, or is it already commoditized and it's only going to be, you know, ultimately big players who are super efficient. But if I can determine that the financials sort of make sense, then it also allows me to make other decisions, because then I can look at the production process and I can say, well, I don't know a lot about this production process, but I know about, and I think I'm going to be good at the sales and branding part of the business. So I'm going to think of myself as the sales and branding side of things, and I'm going to outsource the production side. You know, there's people that, you know, that have been doing this longer than I have, and so I'm going to buy from them. And sure, I'm going to give up some margin to do that, but then it saves me time, money, um, just the overall hassle of trying to figure out how to make this thing myself. And I'm going to focus on the sales and branding side of it. Now, if I want to be on the production side specifically, well, then I really better learn that 10% and better be really good at it. So yeah, so I would find a subject, and in either case, there's going to need to be a subject matter expert who really knows what a good version of that is, a good version of that production process or service process is, so that you can you know, build that as part of your model. I think that's all I have to say about that. But yeah, the key point is that 90% of businesses are basically the same, from big to small. It's all basically the same. The scale gets bigger, the products and services change, but at the end of the day, 90% of it is the same. So focus on your fundamentals as well, because you could get a lot done just by knowing the 90%. And then I think that is it for me today. Those are all the questions that I had. Um, I appreciate you guys listening to me, and I hope that I can help you in some way from what we talked about today, or if there's anything else. And if you want to get a hold of me, you know, reach out through AO, and I'm always happy to meet new folks and talk to them about whatever they've got going on. Because remember, I solve problems. All right, we'll see you around next time.